Hi, Honest Discussioner here. Today's video is going to be about rationality. Now, in my discussions with theists and also just in hearing them talk, there is a very large variety of opinions on rationality. I'm pretty sure we can say that most atheists, deists, the ones that call themselves free thinkers, all of them hold rationality in the highest regard. And for the most part, I'm not saying this is correct or incorrect, for the most part, rationality is often tied in with atheism and lack of religion. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but that's often what it's associated with. There's been, as far as those opinions from the theists, there are people out there who say that their rationality brings them to the conclusion that God exists. And not only that Jesus is that God, Christianity is right and all of those sort of things, they too hold rationality in a very high regard. And then there's also the theists that believe that rationality is an agent of the devil, that you have to abandon your rationality, that rationality will lead you to hell. There's the middle ground as well, the people that say, well, rationality is great for, trying to figure out how to make a car run, but as far as spiritual things, then it must be abandoned, or at least take a back seat. Now, what I'd like to talk about with this is I'd like to tackle all three of these positions, and from the theist perspective, and I hope show that none of them actually work with theism. Now, let's take the one that's probably going to be the most controversial, and that's that rationality is important, and that rationality is what brings you to God. That's looking at the universe, the cosmological argument, all of those things, the apologetics that are out there, all of these, when you really look at the evidence, will bring you towards God. Now, if you're going to hold that belief, I would argue you'd have to also hold the belief that the only people that are both open and rational are the ones that are going to be to believe in God. That anyone, I should clarify that anyone that is open and really tries to find the truth should really come to the correct conclusion. Maybe not necessarily a specific denomination, but should at least hold the tenet that, guess what, Jesus Christ died on the cross, God exists, and all that sort of thing. So now here's my question: why isn't this the case? If you hold that rationality leads you to God, that rationality is important, that God gave us our reasoning, if that is what you hold, why is it that so many people use their reasoning and come to completely different conclusions? Not just atheists, but Muslims, Jews, Hindus. There are rational people that within all of these sects. Rationality is not there's no religion or no group that has a monopoly on rationality. They all have it, but we all come to different conclusions. So if God really made it so that we have to use our reasoning to determine what is true, and our ability to come to the conclusion that God indeed is Jesus and he rose and died and all that stuff, why is it that we're so bad at it? Because obviously, if you are a theist, you hold to the belief that God is true. So Jesus is that God. God wants us to know him. But yet we are made in such a way that our rationality takes us to completely different conclusions. Again, no atheist believes, Jesus died on the cross for me, but yeah, fuck him anyway. I want to go rob a bank. There are a couple really crazy, angry people out there that might do that, but for the most part, no atheist rejects God. They don't think there's anything to reject. And Muslims don't reject God. They believe they are accepting another God that they believe actually exists. It's the same God, but you know what I mean. So now let's go by the example, let's take the example of the opposite side. The people say that rationality must be abandoned. You kind of use rationality in everything else, though. We use rationality and logical thought in all of our daily activities. And for some reason, when talking about God, these people hold that you're not supposed to do that. No one, and in fact, it is a good, virtuous thing to do this. Now, none of these people would say that would agree with anyone, trying to move through a car, because, well, no, it's that it'd be rational to think we couldn't, but I'm going to have faith that I'm going to be able to go through this car, especially if they're not even talking about God allowing them to do that. We use our rationality, and everyone holds to their rationality, but it's really only in the instance of religion and God that people are ever really willing to consciously abandon their logical thinking, even if they're normally not that good at it to begin with anyway. But they never consciously abandon it unless it's in the realm of religion and spirituality. Why would God gift us with such an intellect, with such a rational mind that we need to use in order to survive, to be able to live long enough to worship Him? Because we can't really worship Him as infants, and we would die if we didn't have rational minds. We would probably die if we couldn't make the connection that we will stop getting hungry if we just eat. Without that logical conclusion, based on experience, we would die. So God, obviously, I would say, if He exists and created us, would want us to use our rationality. But yet you claim that it is a bad thing to use it in the case of understanding God. That whole argument presupposes He exists anyway. Because we start out as rational beings, maybe not good at it, but we start out using our rationality. But then as we grow older, we're supposed to abandon that with no real reason to, until we actually abandon it. It's like the girl that I talked about with the faith thing. You won't understand faith until you just give it a try. I'm sorry that for something to be so important that we can't know if it's right unless we do it. That's like somebody saying, listen, I want you to give me all of your money, and I'm going to go put it in the bank, but I can't, in the bank for you, but listen, I can't do it until you go very far away and leave me alone, so that I can do anything I want with it. But I promise you, once you do it, you'll see that it'll be in your bank. Doesn't really make sense. So tell me which side of this you fall on, theists, and why what I've said about this is wrong. Now, before I go, real fast, beer! I wanted to actually talk about the atheism and religion first before going into all this thing, so people actually got into it. So if you really don't want to, just click the 5-star thing and then you can go. But this is Samuel Adams. Again, I got a variety pack, Irish Red, and Jim Koch, who owns and created Samuel Adams, really loves his caramel hops, because this includes caramel hops and caramel malts, as well as pale malts, and uses British UK East Kent hops, I think, or Golding hops. It's actually very smooth, very well balanced. It's just kind of like Killian's, only better, and it goes well with a lot of different things, especially the dinner that I'm going to be having, which is a broccoli rabe sandwich, which, if you want to know how to make that, send me a PM. It's delicious. But yes, very high quality, excellent head, excellent smell. You would taste the caramel, but it's not really the main event. It's really quite excellent. And that's been today's beer. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner out.